George Clooney, John Prendergast, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you very much.
Now, you've been consumed with this issue for a long time. You've been interested in Sudan for years. This is your 6th trip there. George Clooney, why is this so important to you? There's so many parts of the planet that are in conflict, where people are suffering, and
Sure.
Why this trip?
Well, before we talk about this trip, initially, you know, when you're in the position I'm in, part of your job is to try and shine a light in areas. I'm not a policy maker. What my job is to try and bring attention to places that don't have it. This, when I started reading Nick Kristof articles in the New York Times in 2005 about what was going on, it seemed like this was a place where bringing a spotlight could actually have some effect, or at least there wasn't enough of a spotlight on it. So I got involved because of that. And over time, that was Darfur, and over time it just sort of spread into working with the Sudanese people in general. It gets in your bloodstream, and you have a responsibility to them, and you have to continue to go back. This trip in particular was important to us because there is violence, first of all, going on against civilians in the Nuba Mountains. And there is also a ticking time clock of danger, which is as a rainy season comes, and these people are hiding in caves because they're being bombed, they're unable to grow any crops, and they're not going to be able to get crops to them, or food to them, because of the roads when it starts to rain. And there's a very good possibility of a lot of people starving to death.
And in the video we were just showing, they're genuinely scared. I mean, the bombings are very real to them.
It's an interesting thing. People, sometimes you'll see in recent news articles, you'll hear about the Nuba Mountains, and you'll see all these people in these caves, and some people sort of assume this is the cave people of Nuba. They're not. They live in villages. They are the oldest society on earth, if you read the Bible. They've been living there a long time, and they're hiding in those caves because every single day Antonovs are coming by and dropping bombs on them. And if they're not killing them, they're hurting them.
And you're talking about putting the squeeze on the government, the Khartoum government, getting the Chinese involved. Why is it in their interest to help?
Well, it's easy. You know, China has built about a $20 billion infrastructure in oil, oil rigs, pipelines, refineries, mostly in southern Sudan, where most of the oil is. Right now, for instance, the south, who has the oil, and the north, who gets it in the refinery and then keeps most of it and keeps the money and buys bombs and bombers and equipment to actually attack the south, or or ABA and other regions. The South just turned off all the oil. Now, a lot of people think that's bad for both, but who it's really bad for is China, who gets 6% of their oil imported from the Sudan. Now, when they're not getting it from there, they got to go get it somewhere else. China has a vested interest in this being solved. For the first time, we can go to China and not try to play on humanitarian issues, and not to say, let's play to your better angels. Let's talk about maybe we can all work together to try and figure out a way to influence the government of Khartoum for you economically.
Two final questions, turning to a different subject, and that is the presidential election. George Clooney, you were an enthusiastic supporter of President Obama in 2008. What about in 2012?
I'm an enthusiastic supporter. I am a huge supporter of the President of the United States. I'm proud of him.
And the Hollywood community was pretty enthusiastic as a group 4 years ago.
Sure.
Do you think they'll be there with such energy and money and enthusiasm
Well,
this year?
Here's the funny thing. I can't really speak for the Hollywood community because it's strangely not really a community, you know. It really isn't. But I can tell you that I do believe this. I believe that in this upcoming election, turnout is going to be the issue for both sides. I think there's a disenchantment on the right. I think there's some disappointment on the left for both candidates. So I think turnout is going to be the bigger issue for both, whoever the Republican nominee will be, and for the president. I think it's going to be a tougher one because you've now had to govern for 4 years in probably the most polarized time we've had since maybe the Civil War. So is it going to be a difficult time? Is it going to be hard to get people to show up? Probably a little harder, but things are looking up, you know. We'll see.
George Clooney, John Prendergast, we thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.